Hi, it's Joey Griggs with Obsidian Wisdom. Today we answer the question, why doesn't generational wealth last? I don't know if you're aware, but about 70% of the time, generational wealth lasts only 3 generations. The thought is the first generation, they created the mindset to build the wealth. The second generation, your children, they saw what you did to create the wealth, so they have an appreciation for it, so they will rarely just spend it all. But that third generation is so far removed that they take it for granted. They just assume money will always be there. Money has always been there as far as they know. And by the time they're done, the money is gone. And so today we'll discuss 3 reasons why generational wealth doesn't last. The first reason generational wealth doesn't last is we don't change our programming. It is important to recognize that society needs workers, and because it needs workers, it is often going to program us in a way that requires us to constantly have to trade our time for money. If we want to change our programming, we have to spend a considerable amount of time exposing ourselves, creating awareness to other ways to engage with money, have these different relationships. Poverty is a conditioned trait, and oftentimes, someone who grew up in a household where they were poor, they learned different attributes from their parents. And that was the relationship that they had with money. All the things that they learned from their parents, whether they directly told them or whether they just simply watched it, that becomes their relationship with money. To where you find poverty is generational. In fact, studies show that most of our programming is generational. Teen pregnancies, that's generational. Poverty, that's generational. People that go into the military, that's generational. People who become lawyers and doctors, that's generational. Where we see certain things growing up and that becomes our normal. And as a result, we go into those. Sometimes the programming can be great, where it's very advantageous. And other times the programming can be very destructive, where it's not very beneficial. This programming can and often does extend beyond your families as well. Who are the people that your children would hang around with? Who are the people that you hang around with? What are their beliefs, their relationships with money? How do they talk about it? Where if you show me the 5 people that you spend the most time with, I can tell you something about yourself. If you tell me what channels you watch on TV, I can tell you something about yourself. And it's not just me that can tell you about yourself. If you've seen any commercials on different channels, you know that they are very specific to the audience that watches that channel. I know that if someone's of a certain age and a certain gender with a certain economic status, that they would be more likely to buy a certain product. And the same would be true for Walmart, where they have an understanding of certain demographics that make up their ideal client and they know where to build their supercenter. The same would be true for Fresh Market. They have an understanding of the demographics that would make the perfect clientele for them, and then they build their places in those areas as well. If you understand the overall demographics of someone, I can tell you something about their beliefs, their relationship with money. The same would be true with any of the information that you absorb. I can tell you something that you must believe to watch that on a regular basis. There are certain programming that is apparent, and if you become aware of this programming and you don't like any of it, then it becomes your job to change it. And that leads very nicely into the second reason why generational wealth doesn't last, and that has to do with the renewal of the mind. Whenever you decide that you're going to change your programming, change your mindset, that you're going to make a change, that you will be the one that changes the trajectory of future generations for your family, you know that you have to constantly be exposing yourself to the life that you want to create. Because in our normal circumstances where we interact and engage with the world, 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck. 65% of people are going to retire broke. I think the numbers like 30% of people are happy with the work that they have, to the point that the world is not a very happy place all the time. That lots of people are trying to figure out exactly what happiness looks like, what will bring them joy in their life. And if you fall into the trap of the world, it's going to be very difficult for you to be any different. And so you have to renew your mind. You have to continually be reading and rereading and exposing yourself to the lifestyle that you want to have. Whether that is listening to a podcast or YouTube channel or reading certain books, you have to spend a little bit of time refreshing your mind with the life that you want to have. You don't want to fall back into the humdrum of what normal is in society. You want to continually allow yourself to dream and to explore and to grow and to try new things. And the best way to do that is through repetition, renewing of your mind. You have to be intentional with it. Where if you allow yourself to see the exact same thing happen every single day, you can't help but begin to feel that you understand where that person is coming from. When you look at groups of people, whether you're talking about work or gangs or political parties or whatever it is, they often, when they spend a certain amount of time together, they start to pick up habits from each other. To where if you hang out with a group of people who enjoy running, for example, then you're going to find yourself running a little bit more because that's what you have to do to be with that group. And if you start running, don't be surprised that you may get a Garmin watch to help you keep track of your running, that you're going to watch more videos on running efficiently and patterns because you'll probably be injuring yourself in the early goings. You want to be able to hang out with these people so you start to acclimate to what they do. The same would be true with a gang, whether you're talking about a gang that is institutionalized or whether you're talking about one that is illegal. The idea is if you're around them and they participate in certain illegal activities all the time, at the beginning you may be really uncomfortable, where you may have nightmares about it because it really shakes you that there's people out there doing these awful things. But then after a while, it becomes a little bit normal where you're able to sleep at night. That's just kind of the way that they do things. You may be able to explain why they do this, where you're like, I get it. This is what's going on. And then eventually you'll be a part of it, where you'll be actively participating in something that used to give you nightmares and make you uncomfortable. We call that radicalizing somebody. But the truth is, if you are exposed to anything on a consistent basis, it will ultimately change the way that you perceive the world. So it becomes very important for you to intentionally renew and refresh your mind with the information that will influence your decisions in the exact way to help you achieve your goals. If you allow your children and your children's children and the future generations to not have any plans in place on how to renew their mind, what your beliefs are, what your values are, then they're going to be filled with the world. And as their values are filled with the world's values, then you become a part of the world, where you're 78% of people living paycheck to paycheck, 65% of people who are retiring broke. That's with less than $5,000, and based on the NASDAQ study, where their relationships with these certain things are now significantly different than your particular relationship was with these. Which leads us into the third and last reason that generational wealth doesn't last is you didn't give anything but the money. You have to give the values, the lessons, the mindset, the beliefs that you had to be able to accomplish the goals. If you don't, if you just give someone money, it's going to be gone very quickly. We know that 70% of people who win the lottery are broke again within 5 years. And what does that teach us? It teaches us that the money that we have externally is a reflection of who we are on the inside. If you aren't spending any time developing and improving yourself, where you are learning different trades and strategies, then you will find that eventually the money is going to leave you, because the money is just simply a form of exchange for value. If you're providing immense value, then money's going to come to you. If you're providing medium value, then some money's going to come to you. If you're providing no value, then the money won't come to you. And as a result, if you end up with a lot of money as someone who won the lottery, then it becomes very important that you build the mindset and the beliefs and the practices of a millionaire so you can maintain your money. Otherwise, you're going to recreate the life that you already have created. The life that we have is based on the skills and strategies that we know so far. If we want to be happier in our life, we have to study happiness. If we want to be more successful in life, we have to study success. If we want to be more wealthy, we have to study wealth. And as we internalize these different attributes, we are then able to create success, happiness, and wealth in our lives. We can't just be given it. We can't just be told exactly what to do. We have to have that wisdom-based framework to be able to replicate it, to internalize it, and to make it a part of us. That becomes something that you have to pass on with the money. If you just pass on the money, then people are going to make mistakes with it because they haven't learned all the lessons you learned. You grew significantly along your journey. Whatever it was that you did to get the money, you want to pass those values on to your kids. Whether you do that through a trust or whether you do that through your will or your letter of intent where you explain exactly what it is that you believe needs to be done, make sure that you're not just passing the money on to the next generations. The truth is the money is the least important part when it comes to what you're passing on. That is why successful business owners, why they often have businesses that failed along the way to their big business, because they learn different strategies along the way. And if you want it to be something that they can also achieve and maintain, then you have to invest in your children everything that you invested in yourself. If you created your wealth through a business, create a leadership program for your children so that they can learn exactly what it is that you know. If you learned it through investing, show your children your investment strategies, how you pick stocks, and then they will be able to replicate that going forward. It's also worth noting traits such as generosity and charity are important to pass on to your children, where the money is not only spent on ourselves, but it's spent on making the world a better place, creating those experiences for others, where you take your children to the nonprofits and the different events that you fund or the different events that you devote your time to, where it becomes very important to have a trust that focuses on ensuring the values are passed along with the money. If you like the video, I ask you to like and subscribe, and feel free to check out other Wisdometric videos if you're looking for ways to eradicate financial stress, generate passive income, and build a prosperous retirement strategy.